Hi there, Neil Clark of Falkirk Piping, www.falkirkpiping.com, and on Facebook under Falkirk Piping and Glenbervie Folk Duo. This is lesson 6 in our How to Play, How to Learn the Bagpipes series. And this particular lesson is something rather obscure. It's not really dealt with in the books, but I have been asked to do it. And this lesson will concern high A and low G Gracenotes. These are usually just taught as we encounter them. You usually encounter them in the tunes. Interestingly, in the National Piping Centre book, there is an exercise number 22, concerning high A Gracenotes. We usually employ, not all the time, but we usually employ high A Gracenotes to substitute for another Gracenote. And it's usually when we're coming from the note above, when it's more difficult to put, for example, a G Gracenote in. They are also used in conjunction with other notes to form doublings, which we'll come to in a later lesson. But they are used very often, so it's worthwhile having a look at them just now. So nothing to refer to unless you've got a National Piping Centre book. And the high A Gracenote, as the name suggests, is formed by using the high A thumb. Just the high A thumb, of course, because this is an embellishment, it's not a main note. So whenever we're going to play the high A Gracenote must come up first because, of course, the embellishment is played before the main note. We can play the high A Gracenote on any main note. Usually it's found played on the top hand, as I say, to substitute for the high G Gracenote, but it can be played on any note. It's relatively straightforward, but we'll give you a couple of shots at it. So as usual, we'll start with the high A Gracenote to low G. Concerns the movement of one finger only, starting with the high A finger off the chanter, placing it on. If the chanter is closed properly, that will be the high A Gracenote to low G. Let's try a run from the high A Gracenote on low G up to the high A Gracenote on B. Again. Pretty easy, just watch out for climbing noises or crossing noises. Please pause the video and try that now. Now what you should have got there was what we're going to do now. This is a fairly easy embellishment to master, so we're going to continue with the rest of the scale. Starting on the high A Gracenote to low G again. Note that when you're moving from F to the high G Gracenote to high G, your whole top hand is going to be off the chanter for a microsecond. Please remember that this embellishment is very quick. Just practice it slowly. Don't worry about the whole hand being off the chanter. It will be for a very small space of time. So from F, that's the opposite of putting it back on, coming down the scale. We'll show you that in a minute. But going up the scale again. Please pause the video and have a shot at going up the scale. Welcome back. Now we're going to encounter a more common usage of the high A Gracenote, and that's coming from a higher note to a lower note. The first one is going to be high A to high G. Just for convenience sake, we'll actually start with a proper high A to start us off at going down the scale. So there's your proper high A there with the E finger on the high A is formed properly. Just sounds the high A and immediately place the thumb on the chanter, making a high G at the front. Please pause the video and try that now. Now we're going to continue down the chanter. Coming from high G, to place the high A grace note on F, simply pinch the chanter between the thumb and the first finger of your top hand. We're coming from high G, so the high A finger is on just now. Then we remove the high A finger and place both the high A finger and the high G finger on the chanter, just like pinching the chanter. So from high G, that's perhaps the most common usage of this high A grace note. So I'll show you once more and then have a shot yourself. Please pause the video and try the high A grace note to F. Once you've mastered that, then we'll just continue going down, but we'll play the whole scale from the proper high A. Gets easier the further down the chanter you go because you don't have so many fingers to move. Once more then. And that's really it. Relatively simple, but causes a fair bit of confusion. Don't forget that when you see the high A grace note on the musical stave, you will have a ledger line through the grace note itself to identify it as the high A grace note. If there was no ledger line, it would look very similar to the high G grace note, but the ledger line is always the giveaway. So that was the high A grace note introduced, and secondly, we're going to introduce a low G grace note. Now this will come in to many of your very first tunes. Scott's Wha Hae or Bruce's Address most definitely has it, and if memory serves me right, I think Your Amazing Grace will have it as well. To introduce the low G grace note usually follows a higher note, and we go to low G very quickly and then come straight up to low A, almost without fail, finishes on low A. So let's have a look at quite a common one. We're going to start on the B and we're going to do a low G grace note to low A. How we do that is we begin with a properly formed B, close the chanter momentarily to low G and then raise low A. This will require you to place both the B fingers and the A fingers together down on the chanter to form a nice solid low G. Don't hesitate on that low G, it is a grace note and should get the same length of time as any other grace note. So let's practice that. Please pause the video and practice your low G grace note to low A from B. Now, this is a reasonably simple movement. The main problems encountered with it are closing multiple fingers together on the chanter to make, for in this case, a D, a low G and an A. What you don't want is a D, a C, a B, a low G and an A as you climb down the chanter. You must form one note at a time and not travel through several notes. So, I think we'll restrict ourselves to coming down the chanter for this movement. So we're going to start on high A. properly formed high A. The low A, of course, is up because you're playing a note on the top hand, closing the high A and the A together to make a low G and back up to the A. We're going to continue with that because I think you should actually be able to manage this without too much problems at all. And let's go right down the scale from high A. Now, that was a wee bit cheeky putting the last one in because it's not, by the time you get down to the low A grace note, the low G grace note on low A, it's no longer a low G grace note, it's really a low A strike that we refer to it as. But it'll look the same on your music, and it's also, by the time we do that tap, that's half a burrow, which we'll come to in a later lesson. Let's have a look at how we did that again though. Starting on high A, please take your time. You can make this low G grace note as big and as long as you want at this stage. You're practicing it, you're not performing it, so please take your time. So from high A. We'll just keep that low A strike in there as well. So once more, and then we'll set you loose to practice it. So remember, when you're coming from the bottom hand, to form proper notes and take extra care to replace these three fingers as one and avoid climbing down the chanter. So that's lesson 6, a little bit obscure, high A and low G grace notes, but very often these aren't explained until you actually encounter them in the tune. So please practice these grace notes, they're every bit as important as all the other embellishments, and in the next lesson we will deal with the throw on D. That's the light throw in D from me, as I don't play the heavy and I'm not going to show you the heavy. So, happy piping, that's Neil Clark from Falkirk Piping, www.falkirkpiping.com, and on Facebook as Falkirk Piping and Glenbervie Folk Duo. Thank you.